And welcome to that Bible guy. This is why God allows our troubles. Yeah, I know, it's a bold statement to make, and I'm not going to say today it's the only reason, but this has definitely been something that has got me thinking, and I felt quite excited about this idea based on something I heard recently. It's a roundabout way of how this has came about here. The reason why God allows our troubles, and basically, and to say it's not the only reason here, but basically, I've heard this phrase thrown around several times recently, and it kind of caused me some issues. Prayer doesn't come naturally. What do you think about that? Prayer doesn't come naturally. Don't you agree with that? It just doesn't seem natural for us to fall on our knees and pray, to seek God first when problems arise. And yet we hear all the time that we should pray and pray more, and prayer is like the purest, most wonderful thing we can do. And yet it's true. It just does not come naturally. And it kind of bothered me for a while without realizing why. So, what I'm dealing with today is partly an apologetic of that, where it started to make me feel like, why would God make it so that prayer just doesn't seem to come naturally? We go in to pray with someone, and then all of a sudden you could find yourself just getting distracted by a whole range of other things instead of just praying. But why does it not come naturally? Well, I just want to say that there are other things in life that don't come naturally. Good things that do not come naturally. What about saving money? That's a big one for me, saving money. It doesn't always come easy, right? You want to buy something, you find it very difficult. The cost of living today is making that very, very hard. And for years, that's not something, I just kind of get relied on not spending much money, but I didn't find myself saving anything either. But it's one of those things, it seems like it's a good idea, but it doesn't come naturally. And there are many other things like that. Well, one of the things I realized, and we'll get to where I mean by this is why God allows our troubles, is the difficulty sometimes is offset by or nullified by something else. The difficulty, in other words, of saving money is nullified by another difficulty. Another difficulty in life, which means saving money is not easy, comes in and makes saving money, potentially, for me anyway, much easier. And what is that? Well, the problems that come from not having money. The difficulties that come about in life because you don't have money to pay for whatever you need, or you end up behind on payments, or whatever it is, that problem nullifies the fact that saving money doesn't come naturally. And for me personally, that's been a massive help, realizing the problems. And you can put it down many other things. The consequences of not exercising, the consequences of eating too much chocolate, drinking too much caffeine, or some of these things. Like, it's so hard to not do this, it comes so naturally. But if you then think about the problems that are caused by not doing that, that kind of nullifies the problem, and all of a sudden it becomes easier to say no. Or in the case of money, say yes, saving up. What's that got to do with prayer and it not coming naturally? Well, prayer, I find, doesn't come naturally. However, God has made some other difficulty in our life mean that prayer actually can come more naturally. What is that? God has made life for me, and as many people I speak to, is there anyone else I have spoken to that wouldn't say this? Life is very difficult. Would you agree? Would we agree today that life is naturally very difficult? Anyone I've spoken to usually agrees with this. There's very rarely anyone doesn't agree with this. God has made it so that life is difficult. Because life is difficult, it automatically means prayer is a natural response, because we've got to go outside of ourselves for help. So the fact that we say prayer is not natural, for me, then is nullified by the fact that life is so difficult. So what am I getting at? This is the reason why God may allow our troubles, because it drives us to prayer. Listen to Paul's words in 2 Corinthians verse 8. Chapter 1, verse 8. We did not want you to be uninformed, brothers, about the hardships we suffered in the province of Asia. We suffered under great pressure, far beyond our ability to endure, so that we despaired of life. Indeed, in our hearts we felt the sentence of death. But this happened that we might not rely on ourselves, but on God who raises the dead. Paul lays it out here. He's saying, they had all these incredible difficulties to the point where he felt the sentence of death and actually despaired of life. Can you imagine meeting someone, or if you've ever been there yourself, where you actually despair of life? But Paul has reasoned out why God allowed him to feel this way, why he gave him so many troubles. In Paul's situation, you could understand why this thing happened or that thing happened, but could you really begin to understand why all of those things had to happen like that, God, so that I would despair of life? He reasoned, and God allowed it to be put into the scriptures, that it was because he would then learn to rely on God and not on himself. This is why God, for me, allows our troubles, because, simply put, it drives us to him. It drives us to our knees. Again, this came about in another direction for me when I heard the phrase, and I thought of how true it is, that prayer does not come naturally. However, life doesn't come naturally either, and therefore, we've got to go to prayer for help. So I encourage us today, even if prayer doesn't feel natural to you, it doesn't to very many of us. But it can become more natural because life is hard, and we all admit and acknowledge that. But this is the reason why God allows our troubles, because he knows it drives us to him. We don't want to hear it. We don't like it. We wish we didn't have to go through troubles, but they do in actual reality drive us to him. If this has helped us today, please hit the like button. Please share this on for other people. If you haven't already, please subscribe to That Bible Guy, and let's get his word out there.